Good morning. Today is the 8th day of Kislev, the 21st of November. We're looking at the third reading of Parashat Vayeitzei. Yesterday we talked about the fact that Jacob had already married both Leah and Rachel. What happens in today's reading is that he not only marries the two daughters of Laban, he also marries their maidservants. In other words, when they got married, each of them received a maidservant from her father as a gift, I guess like a marriage gift or something like that. And now, these two maidservants are going to go through a marriage with Jacob, meaning they're freed, they're made into free women, and they marry Jacob in order to increase the number of offspring. And this is a topic, a great big topic in and of itself, why a person should, men and women, regardless of age, strive to have as many children as possible. And Rachel herself says, if I have no children, it's as if I'm dead. She says this in today's reading. There is a very basic aspect of being a human being, of developing ourselves as human beings. It requires us to be parents. And the person who doesn't have that feels himself to be dead. And that is what she came to Jacob with a cry that I don't have any children, and so she ended up giving her maidservant. Now the maidservants' names are Bilhah and Zilpah. And there's always confusion. I, as a child, could never remember who was whose. So there's an acronym in Hebrew that helps us remember this. It's the word iron in Hebrew, barzel. And so Bilhah is with Rachel. That's the bet and resh, the bar. Bilhah goes with Rachel. She is Rachel's maidservant. And Zayin Lamed Zal is Zilpah goes with Leah. And this in and of itself there's a lot to discuss about it, but we're going to continue what we did yesterday. Yesterday we said that when we archetype, we abstract this whole story of Jacob with his wives, then Rachel and Leah represent two aspects of our being, the concealed aspect and the revealed aspect. Leah is the concealed and Rachel is the revealed. And we gave yesterday a number of different examples of what this means. There are hundreds of examples in Torah that relate to this very basic division between the concealed existence and the revealed existence. This is how we all are. We all have part of ourselves that is concealed from the outside and part of ourselves that is revealed to the outside. One of the examples we gave yesterday was that our thought, the words of our thought, are related to Leah, to the concealed dimension, and the words of our speech are related to Rachel, our revealed dimension. Now that we have a more complex picture with not only two wives that Jacob wed, but four, and there's a relationship between the first two wives and the second two wives. They are considered the maidservants of the first wives. So now we have to think about a more complex description of what it means that there's a revealed and a concealed dimension. Why do we need to do this? Because we want to take into account that the concealed now has two parts to it. There's Leah and her maidservant Zilpah. And there is Rachel, the revealed, and her maidservant Bilhah. What is this all about? One of the most beautiful things that Maimonides wrote is that the relationship between Torah and mundane knowledge, between divine wisdom and mundane wisdom, should be as the relationship between mistresses and maidservants. He actually says this. He says, the maidservants are needed in order to serve the mistress. In other words, mathematics, physics, literature, psychology, all the mundane wisdom that is developed from below to above, meaning we as human beings engage in the world, we study ourselves, we study reality, and we come up with many different, sometimes correct, sometimes incorrect, articles of knowledge about how the world functions. That mundane wisdom should serve the study of divinity, which is the study of the Torah. So now, if that's how it's supposed to work, so now we have to say that first of all, the concealed and revealed dimensions, Leah and Rachel, are also the concealed and the revealed dimensions of Torah itself. We have the revealed dimension of Torah, which is how a person should conduct themselves, what we call halacha, the body of laws. Sometimes it's even called gufei Torah, the bodies of Torah, the physical, corporeal actions that a person needs to take during his life. But above that, we have the concealed dimension of Torah. And the concealed dimension is talking about, well, obviously Kabbalah and Chassidus are there, but it's also what philosophy uncovered, which was not directly related to the revealed. And it also contains what people would call numerology or any other aspect that doesn't have to do with day-to-day life. Whenever we look at the world, we also have this two-part division. We have the revealed and the concealed. And these are the maidservants, Bilhah and Zilpah. Leah's maidservant, we're going to say this is in general, it's science. All the maidservants are what we call science, but we don't mean just science. We don't just mean biology or physics. We also mean any type of mundane knowledge. It could be sociology, it could be psychology, and as we'll see in a moment, many other areas of mundane knowledge and human endeavor. It too, mundane knowledge, divides into the revealed and the concealed. How shall we look at this? The revealed is what we call science that studies the revealed. What is the revealed, for instance? What could be revealed? Well, like we said, it could be you're studying the oceans, you're studying the stars, you're studying plants, you're studying human behavior, whatever it is that is revealed. The concealed is what we generally call art and music, any form of expression which is not a direct study of something in the world. Meaning, it's like, think about our thought again. Art is meant to express the inner workings of the soul. We use art as a form of discovery, but we're not studying ourselves the same way when we do art as when we study nature, or we're not gathering facts. We're rather trying to uncover that which has been concealed. The human soul is very, very deep. And so there are many things inside that are looking for a way out. Now, in general, science and art in the modern world don't have limitations. 200 years ago, they still had limitations. There were limits put on it. Not everything that you felt, not everything that was concealed inside was worthy of expression. Today, everything is expressed, whether it's worthy or not. But still, the program is still the same. The program is searching, looking into ourselves to try to reveal that which is concealed. So we have here that the concealed aspect of Torah goes together with art and music and anything that has to do with expression of the soul. Whereas what we call the revealed dimension of Torah, that parallels what we know as science, be it study of nature, study of people, and so on. So this is a very basic relationship that abstracts the four wives of Jacob in such a way that we get a total picture. We call this, in general, the unification of Torah and science, although we don't just mean Torah and science, we also mean Torah, science, and art. And in a moment I'll go over some of the fields. But let me just first of all say that these three words, Torah, science, and art, in Hebrew they're Torah, Mada, Omanut. Their initials spell emet. Their initials together spell truth. Because truth, the fulfillment of being a human being, relies on these three areas. Like we said, Torah really is two different things, the concealed Torah and the revealed Torah. And then science, the revealed part of the mundane wisdom, and art, the concealed part of the mundane wisdom, and they have to work together. There has to be a mutual giving and taking, or like a mutual insemination from one to the other. In other words, you can't fully, this is what Maimonides said, you can't fully understand Torah unless you have ways of showing examples of it in the revealed world, in the revealed mundane knowledge. And you can't fully understand anything in what we call the concealed dimension of Torah unless you can express it using some kind of art. Now let's go and try to give this examples of this. The tabernacle that was built in the wilderness is an example of using art to express that which is unexpressible, even. To express, as it were, a connection with godliness. That is something that is unmimicked, except in the temple. There's something very deep about this type of craftsmanship. How do you use materials? How do you use images the right way to express something that, again, is the deepest, most concealed secret, the connection between man and God? So the tabernacle is the epitome of art in Judaism. But there can be many other types. It doesn't necessarily have to come from Judaism. It doesn't necessarily have to come from Torah. But afterwards, if it is something that is truly expressing a human trait, something that comes from the soul, that is deep enough, then it can be used to illustrate a topic in Torah. The same thing is true for the sciences. And, in these classes, I don't know how much I've done with Torah and science, although that used to be my main area. I've done a little bit with Torah and mathematics, but most of what I've written in my life was about Torah and science. I sort of put that behind me about 10 years ago and moved on. But we have a number of books from Rabbi Ginsburg, this all comes from him, obviously, that connect various areas of the sciences with Torah. So the example of the art in Torah is the tabernacle. Now let's take another example, again, because art is more distant from me. I don't usually talk about art. But we can look at the departure from realism in art as an example of what we mean. Again, this is to describe the concealed dimension of Torah. What we mean by the worlds. Remember, we have the lowest world is the world of action, world of formation, the world of emotions, then the world of thought, which is the world of creation, and finally we have the world of emanation, which is the world where there is no separate consciousness, everything is godly. When painting, and not just painting, this happened in all the areas of art, divorced itself from realism. Realism was the name of art for many generations. But around the 19th century, the beginning of the 19th century, pretty much affected by advances in photography, because it seemed that art no longer needed to just capture reality. We had a better vessel, a better instrument for capturing reality. We call them photographs. So art began to depart from that. And we got, as a first stage, something called Impressionism. And I think everybody is familiar with Impressionists. And Impression is already, it's the same reality, but it's already coming through the interpretation of my soul. That is like the world of action, meaning there's the reality, the world of action is above that. And above that, then there was another departure. That's called expressionism. Expressionism was already emotional. It wasn't just the interpretation of reality that comes from my soul, it's also the emotional value and weight that's given to things in reality. And that was expressionism. In the 20th century, most famous is, of course, Salvador Dali and Picasso, we got Cubism. Cubism is already a thought structure interpreting reality. In fact, it doesn't even have to be about reality. It can be seeing reality from many different perspectives at the same time. This is exactly what we mean when we talk about in Kabbalah about the world of creation, the world of thought, where thought structures are built. Now we have to say that so far art has taken us all the way up to Cubism. I'm not aware of what happens afterwards. Afterwards, there would be a type of art that would already be a divine interpretation. It would be in the world of emanation. This we're still waiting for to see what this might be. So these are just a few thoughts about these four wives, how they relate to the concealed and revealed dimension of Torah, and how the maidservants, they need to be unified with the two mistresses, and they need to serve them. They did serve them. How they relate to art and to mundane science. Thanks for joining. There's a lot more to be said about this. A tremendous amount. It's just we're just touching the tip of the iceberg here. And God willing, we'll get more chances as we move on, especially when we touch on the tabernacle. I hope we have more of a chance to look at these different aspects of reality. All the best.